Well, I like this. Whoever has ears ought to hear. I had the COVID for I don't know, like the 10-day whatever thing it is, and so I lost all of my capacity to taste. I can't smell, and I'm colorblind. So I'm about halfway of losing all my senses, but I can still hear. So that's good. Whoever hears to hear, that's all Jesus is asking. At least be able to hear. Don't try to taste or smell, but that's good. And that's why I've been out of the loop for a little while, but I'm back in the loop now, and every day feeling a lot better. Would ask for a lot of prayers for Father Antoine. He's one of our dear priests who I have the pleasure of living with Father Mike in Conway. He went to Lebanon and went to Montreal to St. Joseph's, beautiful grotto there dedicated by Brother Andre, and came back with COVID pneumonia. And so he's been in the hospital for a while. He got out a couple days ago. He's slowly recovering now. But, prayers are always needed for a great priest like him to be able to work through this. And, today's a good day as we're, just liturgically, obviously we're in the setting of Advent, which is why we've got our Advent wreath there, and that's obviously a preparation for the birth of Christ, and to realize that every year that we get to celebrate Christmas, just like this year, we get a chance to prepare our hearts for Christ to be living deeper and more personally in us, even the way Mary was. But also, it's interesting that in the context of Advent, we get these days between the Immaculate Conception and Our Lady Guadalupe to really treasure and to really imitate and to truly learn from Mary. And probably one of the best things that we could do is just Google the words of Mary, Our Lady of Guadalupe, to St. Juan Diego. And I don't know if there's a better preparation for Advent than just listening to what Mary said to St. Juan Diego. In fact, in the opening prayer, which I totally butchered, it's basically the message is that we could hear the message of our mother at Guadalupe. That's kind of like the prayer of the church today for the feast day of St. Juan Diego. And maybe one of the best ways of summarizing it, it's so beautiful. We have this image here. It says, Jesus, I trust in you. And if St. Juan Diego had to kind of summarize, I would think the message, it was, trust in me, I am your mother. That's kind of the message that Mary brings to St. Juan Diego. And for me, at least these last few days, and praying on just the great gift of Mary in my own life, I got my wedding ring onto her, so I've always felt close to her. But it doesn't really make sense, our relationship with Mary, unless we jump into the paradigm, or what theologians would say, into the order of grace. So like, when you wake up in the morning and you order your day, there's a whole mindset that you go through. I don't know the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, but there's certain habits that we create of getting up, and we have a whole thing that we try to do. Now, a lot of disorder happens as well, but we're trying to work through a normal day. And if you drive along the roads, there's a certain order to it. You should only go a certain amount of speed limit, and you should use indicators and all that type of stuff. Or if you watch a sporting event, there's a certain rules to it. There's an order to it. In the biological order, there's obviously things that happen in terms of our growth and our bodies and that type of thing. But in the order of grace, Mary is our mother. In the order of biology, obviously, we have our biological mother. But what does that mean to say that in the order of grace? So we hear this all the time, kind of, but it's in the paradigm of God's thoughts. It's in the way in which He's purposed His plan for our salvation is called the order of grace. It's like, how does God want to order our lives, order our salvation? He wants to do it through the plan that He's trying to purpose for us. But He's not going to force us. So part of this, the catch of the order of grace, is it does not mean that God's going to force us to something. He's going to try to love us into His purpose and into this order that He's trying to bring about. And so one of the great ways that we can acquiesce, that we can cooperate, that we can enjoy, that we can relish, that we can cherish, that we can humbly submit to this order of grace is by being close to Mary. Because she shows us, just as a good mother shows us, how to order our lives for our own dignity, for our own self-worth, for our own consolation, instead of trying to console ourselves outside of the great gift of God's grace for us. And so here are some of the words that Our Lady would speak to Juan Diego, and it's good for us not to just hear them as, oh, that sounds like a nice thing that she's saying to Juan Diego. This is something that God has her say, so that here we are almost 500 years later. I don't know how many miles we are from Mexico City. I don't know how distant we are from the history and the culture of that time. But you can imagine these words were said in the context where every day 10,000 girls, especially, were being sacrificed by these savage Indians. Every day. When they first came, they saw these pyramids, and they thought that was just like water with red dye in it. It was the blood. And so the Christians came to these first areas of the Aztec Indian culture and saw this. And so what does God do in response? He sends the tender love of a woman, who they were ironically sacrificing, women, and a preborn baby, which is what Our Lady Guadalupe is. It's a pregnant mother, a woman. And so Juan Diego, being a part of that Indian culture, he's the first indigenous Indian to be canonized. And what is her message? She says, I am the perfect and ever Virgin Holy Mary, Mother of God, of the truth through whom everything lives, the Lord of all things near us, the Lord of heaven and earth. And Mary goes on to declare, I want very much to have a little house built for me here, in which I will show God. I will show the people God, and I will exalt the Lord and make him manifest. And Mary continues, I will give God to the people all my personal love and my own compassion I will help and protect, because I am truly your merciful mother, yours and all the people who live united in this land, and for all other people of different ancestries. My lovers who love me, those who seek me, those who trust in me. I will hear their weeping, their complaints, and heal all their sorrows, hardships, and sufferings. And Guadalupe obviously means the one who crushes the serpent. And knowing that from the very beginning, when the devil tempts our first parents, we see Mary as this new Eve, that God gives her the strength and endows her with the blessing of being able to crush the head of the snake. What else could we possibly imagine? The evil, and Guadalupe means just that. It's the one who crushes the serpent. And in those days, in the Aztec days when this was happening, they worshipped the sun. They worshipped the moon. They worshipped these things that were in the cosmos, and the way in which they would worship them, they'd offer the sacrifice of these innocent kids. And so Mary coming to crush that, Mary coming to really be on our defense against the evil that can come upon our own lives, is so beautiful for us to go to Our Lady Guadalupe and ask for that tender love of a mother to protect us from the evil one. And how can we not see that in our own day, yeah, it's wonderful that there's no more human sacrifices done the way they used to do in the Aztec culture, but we see that in our own culture through abortion. And so we pray that Mary, through her intercession, just as we were able to, through Christianity, bring about the conversion of millions of people through Mary, that God works so powerfully through her to us to bring about the same evangelization and desire for him to bring about healing in the womb of all those mothers, and to bring about conversion and bring about this great gift of who Jesus is in her womb. And so today we pray through the intercession of St. Juan Diego that we too can listen to this tender love of our mother who's in heaven, wanting to intercede with us in our own lives and in our world today. St. Juan Diego, pray for us.